Exhibit honoring the legacy of African-American filmmakers and actors from the early years of cinema through the civil rights movement is on display here at the Detroit Institute of Arts. It's called Regeneration, Black Cinema, 1898 to 1971. The name is inspired by the 1923 independent movie Regeneration, which featured an all-black cast. The exhibition traces the often untold story of African-American representation in cinema history, and it brings to light lost or forgotten films, filmmakers, and performers. I sat down with DIA curator and head of the Center for African American Art, Valerie Mercer, to find out more about this landmark exhibition. Valerie, welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you back.
Delighted.
Yeah, it's
Good
been a
to
long
see you.
time, right?
Right, it has.
So I love the idea of this exhibit. I want to start by having you talk about how you came up with the idea for this exhibit and why it's so important to tell this story.
Well, it's a show that was originally organized by the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures in LA. It's not a, it doesn't, it's a smart museum, but it doesn't have a long history. So, but we're probably the second venue. I think they opened the show. But I think it's such a great idea. I've never seen an exhibition on film history. But I love film. Always have. Makes me happy. Even when there's sad stories, just I guess because I'm a curator, you know, I just love visual stimulation. But when it's a good story too, it makes me very happy. So I'm so glad that we took the show. And you know, it's so rich in history. It covers 1898 to 1971, and I'm sure a lot of people don't realize that there were Black filmmakers back in that time. You know, up to, of course, the history really today, you know, it goes beyond 71. But this is a really good coverage of the growth, the development of that. And now there's more Black filmmakers, which is wonderful.
So the time period where the exhibition starts, of course, is really different from where it ends up. Let's talk about that kind of early period, which I think is less familiar to people.
I'm sure it is.
The more recent period. What was Black filmmaking like at the turn of the last century?
Sure. Well, you'll even see in the exhibition there are race films, and some of those, while there are Black actors in it, and actually even Black actors with Black makeup on, because that was somewhat almost like, as odd as it sounds, it kind of became a standard, because white performers always use
the minstrel.
But this is a Max Factor, Black makeup, and but that sort of came out of vaudeville. You know, number of the early performers, because some of them were in the Ziegfeld Follies, and then from there, some of them became, you know, interested in acting in films. So, like Burt Williams, some of the really famous vaudeville stars. And there's a wonderful film, a piece of, sort of a segment, I think, of a film, or maybe it's the whole thing of at the beginning of the show, and it's a gorgeous Black couple. They actually are vaudeville performers, but it's like you know, so wonderful, intimate clip of this young couple kind of flirting with each other, and then they kiss. You know, and I remember I was telling Elliot, I remember being really young, and the first time I ever saw a Black couple kissed on a big screen, I remember actually sinking down in my seat and feeling uncomfortable. But then very quickly I thought to myself, now why am I feeling uncomfortable? And I thought, oh, because I've never seen Black people kiss on a big screen.
On the screen.
Yeah, I've seen white couples, and then I thought, I've only seen my mom and dad kiss. But then I kind of thought to myself, yeah, I just got to get used to this. So then I sat up, and over the years I became used to it. But I remember it was lovely. You know, I think it was like Sidney Poitier and Abbey Lincoln, The Love of Ivy, and but I loved it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But we all have those first experiences,
Right.
Especially certain generations. You know, because I mean I remember the time when you saw. You know, African American in a film, you told everybody because it was so rare.
It was so unusual.
Yeah, or if you saw them on TV, everybody in the family came to look at that person. You know, so yeah, some of the early clips are really, really wonderful because you know you see some of these famous performers and learn about them. There's also, of course, you know, we have, I think, a poster showing The Birth of a Nation, because that was such a highly publicized film. And in a way, too, that was probably the first blockbuster in American film.
Yeah.
And Elliot always says so many directors always, in a sense, are trying to live that down. You know what I mean? Trying to surpass it because it was so popular, you know. But of course, it was, you know, white supremacists on steroids, sort of. You know, when you see the film, I think it's an important film. I mean, I've actually seen it about 3 or 4 times. First time I saw it, I was really kind of like nervous and uncomfortable. But then I thought, you know, just got to get used to it because it's important to know. And I think in that way it's really important because it had tremendous impact on American culture.
Talk about why it's important to have this exhibition here in Detroit and here at the DIA.
Yeah, why? Where else would you have
Right,
it?
where else?
This is the place because we have such a wonderful history of showing film. I think the theater now is about, we're about 50 years old. And Elliot, of course, is still going strong, and so are other people who work with him. But, you know, I always tease him and say, I think most of the people who come to your programs belong to their sort of auxiliary. I said, I bet they don't even look at a program. They just trust you and they just show up.
Just show up.
Because they know you're going to show them something good. I mean, I was so happy when I discovered it, because I think when I was I don't recall anybody mention it to me, but maybe after about a month, I discovered it on my own, and I said to Elliot, you know, I was feeling homesick for New York, but once I discovered your theater and saw the programming, I thought, wow, this is just like being in New York. And he said to me, that's the sweetest thing you could have told me. But I mean, it's so top notch, you know, because it's films from all over the world. So this is the place to have this exhibit. I'm so glad we took it.
And in Detroit, I think the story that the exhibition tells has special resonance.
Oh yeah, well there are some people connected in a sense with the project who come from New York. One of the curators, Rhea Coombs, you know, grew up here. She was here, I think, opening night. Just said some wonderful things. She was almost getting choked up about her memories. But you know, there's certain actors in the, you know, some of the famous actors were actually born and raised here. Then I guess went off to, you know, since Hollywood. But we have young filmmakers here too. You know, we do. I know not a lot of them, but a few of them have reached out to me, and especially around the time of the opening of this, and some of them were here and said wonderful things about the show. They were really happy about it.
And of course, it dovetails with the other work you do here at the museum.
Oh, absolutely. That's one
terribly important, and I feel like has changed a lot over the years, right?
Yeah. I mean, it really supports my work as a curator of African American visual arts. I usually mostly, of course, work with paintings and sculpture and drawings and all that. But telling that history, which I felt was so important, because we don't get that in school. I never got that. What I learned, I really learned from my mom, about the history, because she did know it, but a lot of things I did not know, and but I learned it from her, and then from friends over the years, and just reading, and becoming more and more curious. But it's just, that's why going into the exhibition makes me feel, really happy, because there's some painful aspects of history, but a lot of it I think does bring joy to most of us. To see all these wonderful creative individuals and learn about them. I mean, some of the directors, like Oscar Michaud, going practically door to door. He was so, in a sense, dedicated, but early on, wasn't like he had a lot of people working for him, but he learned how to make films on his own. And he did it kind of step by step, and then, wrote novels, turned them into movies, but with the novels too, he'd go door to door selling them, and then the same thing with the film, but these are wonderful inspirations, I think, for younger generation filmmakers.
All right, well, it's always great to see you.
And same here.
And congratulations on the exhibition.
Yeah, and I'm still listening to you on the radio.
Oh, well, I appreciate that too.
Okay.
Thanks for being here.
And thank you so much.